We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
When was the last time you practiced your home fire escape plan? Be sure everyone in your family knows what to do if there's a fire. Get out, stay out. It's your fire safe response.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Challenge for a controversial Texas law. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A federal appeals court hearing arguments on whether Texas can enforce its law, which allows police to arrest migrants who cross illegally.
Texas wants to implement it in the interim before the court rules, or at least hears arguments about the constitutionality of it coming up in 2 weeks. If SB 4 goes into effect, it would allow Texas to charge and deport migrants who enter the country illegally. Texas argues that SB 4 mirrors federal law, which is why at least some aspects of it should be enforceable while litigation plays out. But the Biden administration says the law oversteps its federal authority over our borders. They argue the block should remain in place in accordance with precedent.
Fox's Nate Foy in Eagle Pass, Texas. Congressional leaders continue to work to get both sides to agree to $1.2 trillion spending package before a partial government shutdown kicks in at midnight Friday. But text of the bill has not yet been released. The spending package
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Who was charged from the shooting? I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. Several charges filed, including one for murder for Nicholas Volk. He's accused of killing Timothy Brown during a shooting at Land Sharks in Broad Ripple last Saturday.
Everybody's having a good time and, just doing what you do at Land Sharks. You're doing some dancing, you're having some drinks, visiting with your friends, and socializing and everything. And then hearing something like that it's a drag.
Land Sharks customer Ron Wyckoff, who tells Wish TV he's bummed about the nightclub being closed. 5 others were hurt in the shooting that started from an argument. Land Sharks could have done a better job to keep their establishment safe. That's according to IMPD's new police chief, Chris Bailey.
They were asked to monitor who they used to promote events, have the proper security at the door, those type of things. They didn't follow those things, to my understanding.
Bailey talking with WIBC's Tony Katz Wednesday. Monday's Delphi murders hearing had an order in place to keep everyone civil. Donnie Burgess reports 2 people didn't get the memo.
Rick Snee and David Noe are so-called YouTubers who cover the Delphi murders case. It's unclear what perspective they actually offer, but that appears to be cause for a feud between the two. They got into an argument at the Allen County Courthouse Monday.
Noe stalked me into a stairway and tried to start with me. I got right up nose to nose with the little son of a
Snee during a YouTube live video. Both men are now banned from all future court proceedings. They'll have to cover the case from the living room. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Here's the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Things start to get a little cloudy as we make our way overnight into Thursday morning. Overnight, we'll also see the wind slow down and temperatures drop to about 25 degrees by Thursday morning. Thursday looks to be mostly cloudy. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Drew Narsutis for 93 WIBC.
With the weather changing, March is a critical time to check your home's windows. If yours are cracked or leaking and won't open or stay open, then it's time to call the pros at Window Nation. Right now, for every 2 windows you buy, you'll get 2 windows free. There's no limit to how much you could save. Plus, you could save even more with 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments for 24 months. Window Nation's windows come with a lifetime warranty and can be installed in 1 day or less.
With proven quality service, it's no wonder thousands of homeowners have trusted Window Nation for their homes, and you can too. If your old windows and high energy costs from this past winter are cutting deep into your finances, don't miss out. With this unlimited deal, buy 2, get 2 free, plus 0 down, 0 interest, and no payments for 24 months. You can't afford to wait. 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com. Schedule your free in-home estimate.
My grades were bad.
I appeared to be doing good at my school life, but if you would see me at home, it would have been a completely different story.
I mean, it was just rough focusing on school when your mother is somebody you have to take care of.
There are students who need somebody.
Communities in Schools is helping more than 1.3 million kids get whatever they need to succeed in school. You can help change the picture of education at communitiesinschools.org.
I hear people say we can't save every kid, but I think that we can.
I had changed the locks, didn't even know where she was living. And then one night she calls to say she's getting treatment. Can I drive? I almost hung up. But then I thought, that's my kid. I chose to put away the hurt and the fear and just see my girl.
Addiction is a disease. Standing by a loved one as they fight it will test your faith, patience, and sanity. But it's possible when you see the person, not just their disease. Learn more at cbeyondtheaddiction.org.
Your one blood donation can help save the lives of up to 3 people. Give blood through the American Red Cross to help hospital patients. Visit redcrossblood.org today.
Do gurgling pipes, a running toilet, a small leak in your basement keep you up at night? Hey, Pat Sullivan here, and I can tell you that becoming a member at Hope Plumbing will give you the comfort of knowing you have a plumber on call. For only $8 a month, you get the ease of having your own plumber on hand, a 10% discount on all plumbing services, 1 annual free mainline cleaning, 1 annual plumbing safety inspection, and all the trip charges waived. Call Hope Plumbing today and become a member to start saving big.
When you're high, you feel different. But if you feel different, you drive different. So don't drive high. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It takes everyone in the community working together to create a brighter future. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Visit liveunited.org to learn how you can help.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey.
The Amber and Nigel show. All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. I'm Tony Kinnett, and it's a great day to be anyone not in progressive media because it's truly wild to see how far legacy media has fallen in such a short amount of time. First of all, the presidential campaign season is very well underway, with President Biden trying just about everything he can pull out of his suit pants pockets to hit Trump. And that's really quite wild to watch because it seems like every time he tries a brand new strategy, it blows up in his face almost immediately. And I'm not even the one that's levying those kind of criticisms. The catch is that the New York Times, the Washington Post, other left-wing leaning news sources around the country are criticizing every single move Biden makes because they know very deep down that it is not going to be enough to push Biden over the hump and win the Electoral College here in November. At this point, it doesn't even look like he's going to be able to pull the popular vote. And here are a few of the reasons why. There's the memory issue, there's the border issue, there's the economy issue, there's the social issue, there's the pandering to minorities issue, there's the very awkward LGBTQ issue, there's the Hamas versus Israel issue. He's not popular in any kind of policy. So what has he resorted to do? Well, from his account, he has started lambasting Trump, which is fine. You know, you're the opposite candidate. You're going to say that the other candidate shouldn't be leading the country. I should be leading the country. That's very common. And you can make character arguments. You can say the other person is super bad. But the Biden administration has openly resorted to the most bare, hackish form of blatantly lying in ads. So here, we're actually going to roll the entire ad for you. Here's what this wildness from Biden's official account looked like today.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. And it's going to be a bloodbath for the country.
Jews will not replace us!
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
Are you willing to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
Proud boys, stand back and stand by.
Please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
There'll be a lot of pardons and commutations of January 6th defendants.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell your supporters now, no matter what, no violence.
And it's going to be a bloodbath.
I love the Hollywood trailer music there. Fantastic choice. So the problem is, first of all, this is one of the worst tweets on Biden's account for a very, very long time. The replies to this are incredible. This, in fact, may be, I think, Biden's third tweet to actually get community noted. And here's why. Every single clip that was played is out of context. And by the way, I don't mean out of context as in, well, you could kind of take it this way, or you could kind of take it this way. Case in point, not only the bloodbath hoax, which we've gone over in detail ad nauseum, but President Trump's comments about both sides in Charlottesville. You kind of expected Biden to reference it as he had in churches and political rallies across the country when he's been going around trying to, stay awake. But Biden decided that this weird, very awkwardly cut clip is what needed to go. And the reason I bring this up is because Biden's use of the Trump video clip there has like 2 more seconds. And, well, it looks a little like this.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Oh, so wait a minute. Before the whole both sides thing, President Trump very explicitly stated that neo-Nazis and white supremacists and whatever should be openly condemned. And yet Biden ignores that for the very quick sound clip. So, how about that? And that's the entire ad, by the way. And here's the reason that this is so important to note. Even this very last thing that he has, which Biden is just running around the country going, Trump is Hitler, Trump is Hitler, which, it's impressive that he even knows who Hitler is, given that dead foreign leaders he usually assigns to running countries that he spoke with last week. But as far as the Trump is Hitler dynamic, it did not work for Hillary Clinton in 2016. It was a massive failure, didn't get people out to vote. Trump's problem in 2020 was that he did not get people out to vote for him. It was a referendum on how he handled COVID, and he lost. Along with some very weird shenanigans regarding the Democrat strategy for mail-in ballots, special rules changes for how that election process went. There was a lot of weird stuff going on, at least statistically, as an anomaly for voting records in that election. This election ain't going to be that way, guys. It just isn't. And this has the left freaking out because not only have the left completely eroded every single bit of credibility they had in institutional media over the last decade, they have driven themselves so low that their outlets can't even afford to use Associated Press articles anymore. Left-leaning outlets are so bad, there are hundreds of organizations who are laying off left-wing journalists who, for the last decade, have chosen, instead of reporting the news, and every little bit of news is going to have some bias, but you try your best to make sure that you report the facts before giving your opinion. Instead of doing that, the left has just blatantly simped for the left. And the tons of layoffs are a result of this. Case in point, I noticed this afternoon that the Indianapolis Star made a very wild decision to run a James Briggs column in which he asserted that Mike Pence anointed Donald Trump as God's leader, and that he can't just take that back. So when I click on an article, I expect to see an overt statement with a citation, a little hyperlink, where I can click on the place where Mike Pence either literally or pretty closely in metaphor anointed Trump as God's leader of the country. And that's something that an evangelical might be expected to do. And there wasn't anything. There wasn't any kind of a link, any kind of a source. He just wrote out of his butt based on some Atlantic article criticizing Mike Pence in 2018. And then the Indianapolis Star just published it as journalism. And yet they wonder why between 2018 and 2022, they lost 75% of their readership. And since then, they have lost so much money. They can't even give away newspaper subscriptions for $1 a year. So that now the newspaper run by Gannett can't even afford Associated Press articles. How absolutely pathetic. But Jacobin, which is a socialist news outlet, posted this today. So here's where the good news for the left comes in. They say, mass layoffs are tearing through U.S. media. To preserve a functioning media ecosystem, we need 3 things. Immediate aid to struggling journalists, public subsidies to smaller news outlets, and eventually industry transformation into a publicly funded system. So as a quick reminder, Pravda was the state-run news outlet for the USSR, and it was a government-controlled media outlet, and it was hot garbage because it lied to the people constantly. So the Jacobin, openly admitting that people aren't invested in legacy media because they're garbage, has now called for a state-run news subsidy system, which is just stellar. And by the way, if you need another reason why the news outlets are having such an absolutely terrible time, it's because, this is from ABC News today, they posted that Daniel Penny, quote, the former Marine who choked a homeless man to death last May on a New York City subway car, will stand trial beginning October 8th, end quote. Daniel Penny is the guy who saved individuals from attack by an mentally insane homeless man. Had absolutely nothing at all to do with the way that the ABC News outlet framed it. And this is just par for the course. This is just going to keep going this way. The left has not learned their lesson, and so they will continue to lose support and money. Well, speaking of losing support over very stupid things, Chicago is suing Glock. We're going to talk about that with Guy Relford up next. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
I also did say that men are not women and women are not men, and men do not breastfeed and never will, because those are facts. And anybody who says otherwise, that person shouldn't be allowed to practice medicine. They're crazy. I will have that debate with anyone at any med school anywhere. Let's start setting a standard that we focus on medicine and not insanity.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
This is the most exciting time of the year, and we want you to go all the way, even if your team doesn't. March on, Indiana, in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Shop any of Hubler's 12 locations and choose from over 1,000 vehicles. Chevys, Fords, GMCs, Buicks, Nissans, Acuras, Mazdas, Hondas, and many more. All makes, all models, certified vehicles, luxury vehicles, even the hard-to-find ones. Every Hubler Q certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty, plus a 128-point vehicle inspection and a free Carfax history report. Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Busted brackets not included. So what drives Indiana? DriveHubler.com. For over 1,000 vehicles, visit any of our 12 locations.
Hubler's got you covered.
Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Your nose is for breathing. Your mouth is for eating. And if you're breathing through your mouth, it's not because your body wants to. It's because it has to, because your nose isn't working properly. And although you've lived like this, it's no way to live, and it's having a significant impact on your life. I know you know this, and I know that taking action isn't always convenient. But at Advent, we've done all we can to make changing your life for the better as easy as possible. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. With tens of thousands of our patients, a thorough breathing triangle evaluation, along with a simple 20-minute in-office procedure called balloon sinuplasty, has opened their nasal passages, allowing them to breathe freely through their nose for good. And there's a good chance this procedure can do the same for you. We'll help you breathe through your nose again, and it will change your life.
Go to AdventKnows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Results may vary.
Free water analysis now at C&J. Preventive maintenance works.
Call C&J at 317-852-WELL or cjforwater.com.
Are you looking for more in this world? Are you ready for something bigger? Then we are looking for you. The big-hearted, the bold, the messy and the gutsy. The teachers, the growers, the builders. The skilled, the sharers, the change makers. We need you. We are the Peace Corps. In more than 60 countries, we go all in and all out. We are volunteers, partners, communities, working together, living together, bringing our experience, passion, and joy to building a better world together. From tackling climate change in Mexico to keeping kids healthy in Kenya, from sustainable farming in the Philippines to education in Kosovo. We learn more, give more, share freely, and serve boldly. Are you ready to tackle the tough stuff? To go the distance to make a difference? Then we have a place where you belong. Join us at peacecorps.gov.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. As a guy who really enjoys basically every kind of Glock which has ever been invented, I was surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised. I was perplexed when I saw a Reuters headline which said that the city of Chicago is suing Glock over the, quote, ease, end quote, of machine gun conversion. And whenever you talk about guns on WIBC, I'm not the guy to go to. You got to bring on Guy Relford, the legendary Second Amendment attorney, as well as one of the only guys at the studio who can outshoot me. Guy, good evening.
Hey, Tony, it's a pleasure to be on the cast, my friend. We haven't shot together yet, so I don't know. I'm not bragging on being able to outshoot you until we actually go put some targets up.
Oh, I'm calling it ahead of time. There's no way. That all said, so Chicago is suing Glock because they say that they can very be easily turned into fully automatic machine guns, which technically it would make it a machine pistol, which is different than just a machine gun. But aside from that, they're saying that Glock is responsible for manufacturing a firearm that is easily convertible into a fully automatic weapon. First of all, is that even something you can sue a company for?
Well, that's a really great question, because we have at the federal level what's called the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, Tony, and what it says is that if a firearm manufacturer or dealer lawfully sells a firearm or lawfully manufactures and sells a firearm, and it is later used in a criminal act, then that firearm manufacturer cannot be sued for that, or that firearm dealer cannot be sued for that. They have immunity for that. And it, you know, when I first started talking about this act when it was passed at the federal level, and by the way, here in Indiana, unlike Illinois, we have a state version of the same act that we just amended positively here this last session. But when I first started talking about this, I would have like callers into my show say, "Hey, what are you talking about? I mean, who could sue someone for taking their product and using it in a criminal act? That doesn't make any sense." And I said, "Well, you would think that would never happen, but the firearms industry, in fact, is being sued left and right at the time that this act was passed at the federal level, because it was really the gun control proponents' alternative strategy. They couldn't get done what they wanted to do in Congress. They couldn't get done what they wanted to do in the state legislatures. They couldn't get done, any other means. So they said, I know, we'll use the courtroom and we'll sue gun manufacturers and gun dealers into oblivion and thereby eradicate Second Amendment rights in the U.S. And this is just a continuation of that strategy. But we have this federal act that really ought to protect Glock in this circumstance.
So that's really one of the things that I want to point out here. We're on with Guy Relford talking a little bit about this weird situation in which the city of Chicago is suing Glock, the firearms manufacturer, because they claim that Glock is responsible for producing a firearm which can be easily converted into a fully automatic weapon. Now, here's the catch. And you know this, I know this, most people who understand anything about firearms understands that to convert a weapon from semi-automatic to fully automatic, first of all, not all semi-automatic weapons can be converted into fully automatic weapons. But number two, you need something called an autosear. And an autosear is either a small kit or a small tool or a kit that includes a special set of tools, which basically swaps out internal parts of the gun with new parts to make it fully automatic. Again, we had this entire conversation back around AR-15s and M16s and things like that back in the 80s, the 90s, and the aughts. But the best part about all of this to me is that the company that makes the autosears, which can convert Glocks into, by the way, really horribly made fully automatic machine pistols, like very unreliable, you will hurt yourself using them long term. It's a Chinese company that's not even remotely associated with Glock. In fact, Glock advises those using its weapons not to do business with that company out of safety concerns.
Well, no, exactly. And what's interesting is possession of even that part, that Glock switch is kind of the common terminology we're starting to use. It's not unique to Glock. I mean, you could manufacture an autosear to put into an AR-15, like you mentioned, any number of different guns, and certainly other semi-automatic pistols as well. And the prevalence of Glocks has led to these Glock switches becoming popular, and you can buy them illegally on the internet. But possession of even that switch, that part itself, is illegal under federal law.
That's what I was going to point out. It's already illegal to own an autosear in the United States.
Exactly. And it's also illegal. It's an unregistered autosear, and for it to be registered, it has to have been manufactured before 1986. Right. And there are some of those out there, and they're transferable, and they're worth a lot of money.
And but even then, it's only like grandfathered. I think it has to be like grandfathered in under repairing an existing fully automatic weapon.
Exactly. And there are transferable machine guns out there that are totally legal to sell. They have to be registered under the National Firearms Act. You have to pay a $200 tax stamp and all of that. But for these Glock switches, none of these were made before 1986. None of them are registered, and therefore none of them are legal. And so even possession of them is illegal under federal law. Right. As of the last year and a half, they're illegal under Indiana law, for instance. And certainly putting one into a pistol and converting it to a fully automatic firearm is absolutely illegal under federal law in Illinois or anywhere else. And by the way, it's also illegal here in Indiana. So you've already got a criminal act occurring here. And what the Chicago is trying to do, and, I guess it's not funny because it's predictable. Right. But it's so ludicrous. They're trying to blame a manufacturer of a legal product. And by the way, I think last count I saw, 65% of law enforcement agencies in the United States carry Glocks. And there's a reason, because they're like the F-150 of firearms. They're ultra reliable. You pull the trigger, it's going to go bang. It's appropriate to use to save and defend lives as well as your own.
Somebody read my obituary on Gaston Glock, I see.
Well, yeah, it was a sad day. In fact, I have his original patent for his first gun that he patented, the Glock 17, hanging up in my office.
Oh, that's so cool.
To take a manufacturer of a lawful product and blame them for the criminal acts of others. I mean, when I first read about this, I thought, it was remarkably easy for Timothy McVeigh and his conspirators to take a box truck and build a fertilizer bomb in the back of it and park it in front of the federal building in Oklahoma City. I can't help but think it was the manufacturer of that truck who's really responsible for the that day in that bombing, because it's awfully easy to use a box truck to make a fertilizer bomb. I mean, how do you make a fertilizer bomb without an appropriate vehicle? So by God, whether it was GMC or Ford, whoever made that box truck, they're responsible for all those lives lost in Oklahoma City that day. It's exactly the same theory. It's exactly the same theory.
And again, we're on with Guy Relford talking about the city of Chicago suing Glock for some other Chinese company making the auto, sir, which is wild to me. I own several chemical licenses because I used to be a science teacher, and so it was useful for me to be able to procure certain controlled chemicals and things that might be useful in small amounts for certain experiments, things like that, certain pyroexplosives, whatever. One of the things that I was able to purchase was, can be considered, although probably one of the more dangerous ways, a precursor to methamphetamine. And if I combined it with ammonia and a couple of other really stupid ingredients, then I could have theoretically made a very unstable and dangerous way of making meth. Now, here's the catch. There is a heavy-duty version of Windex. It's called there's a form called ammonia D is what this kind of higher power version of Windex has. I could derive the ammonia D from that Windex in order to aid in the process of making the meth. That doesn't make Windex responsible. Windex isn't releasing the product to meth addicts just because I provide something else. That's what's bewildering to me. It's not like Glock is selling the auto under some kind of a different name. This is a completely different company. I'm sorry, Guy. This is one of those that is just beyond my sight.
Well, yeah, but there is an upside, Tony, and that is we finally identified the real cause of the violence problem, the gang problem, the shootings problem that they have in Chicago. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not weak leadership. It's not lousy enforcement. It's not letting dangerous criminals spin right through the revolving door of the criminal justice system in Cook County. It's none of that. It's a law-abiding man in America. By gosh, it's their fault. Thank goodness we have an alternative source of all that violence in Chicago, because it's not the liberal politicians that have lost control of their city. Oh no, it's a lawful manufacturer of one of the most popular guns in America.
Yeah, dead on as usual. Guy Relford, thank you so much for coming on. Up next, we'll be talking a little bit about the LGBTQ plus crew's vision for the healthcare of your children. That also happens to be the group that suffers from more depression, anxiety, and other serious health problems than almost any other group in the country. So maybe they shouldn't tell you how to raise your kids. We're going to dig into that next. You are watching the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
Do you get sinus infections, congestion, sinus pressure and pain, above your eyes, below your eyes, sinus headaches? You've gone to the doctor, you've visited urgent care over and over again, and it's always the same thing. I know. Let's try antibiotics and nasal sprays. But the sinus infections keep coming back. The good news? Relief is possible. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of Indianapolis Sinus Center called balloon sinuplasty. Imagine the relief of not having to deal with your sinus infections anymore. Set an appointment today with Indianapolis Sinus Center and find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Call 317-528-9650. 317-528-9650. That's 317-528-9650.
At Busey Wealth Management, we're proud to partner with individuals, families, and foundations, ensuring possibilities become achievements. From preserving and enhancing your assets to securing your legacy for future generations, we're focused on your success. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth. Since 1868, member FDIC.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you could start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So, get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Cancer's worst gets our best. Franciscan Health is a national leader in treating colorectal cancer, achieving the highest standards in cancer care. With accredited programs, board-certified oncologists, and fellowship-trained colorectal surgeons, Franciscan Health is focused on your future, offering the most advanced treatments and latest clinical trials that are no match for colorectal cancer. Meet colorectal cancer's toughest opponent at franciscanhealth.org/colon-cancer-care. That's franciscanhealth.org/colon-cancer-care.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Woodard, Emhart, Henry, Reeves, and Wagner. Over 140 years specializing exclusively in patent, trademark, trade secret, and copyright law and litigation. On the web at uspatent.com.
Prescription opioids can be addictive and dangerous.
I was given a prescription opioid pain medication, and within only a few months, I was completely addicted. I lost everything. I had to leave school and stop playing sports in college, and I started to watch my life slip away. I want people to know that these drugs are addictive. One prescription can be all it takes to lose everything.
Prescription opioids. It only takes a little to lose a lot. Visit cdc.gov/RxAwareness.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
Hammer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. I've spent the last couple of years, a lot like many of you have, with individuals who are considered the professionals, the experts in education and in healthcare, telling you that it's incredibly important to affirm your child's gender. That is, if they want to be transgender, if they want to show like masculine characteristics and they're a guy, well, that's toxic masculinity. But other than that you needed to affirm your children because that's life-saving. After all, the Trevor Project assures you that having a live daughter is much better than having a dead son, alluding to the idea that if you don't allow your son, at least in your eyes, saying, yeah, I think that, son, you're also a woman, then he'll automatically commit suicide, which, by the way, doesn't exactly make the argument that you think it does. Well, a new study from the New York Post reveals that individuals who desperately believe that everything is systemically racist and that everyone is on the gender spectrum and all other kinds of spectrums all the time, that they are more depressed than any other group in the country. Who would have believed that those walking around thinking that you were born in the wrong body and that you are laden with generations of racial evil guilt, and the only thing that can fix it is very precisely calculated and manipulated racial ratios, like at the Hamilton Southeastern Administration, that if we don't have this precise number of administrators who are this color and this number of administrators who are this color, then it's all going to fall apart and no one's going to feel welcome and it's going to be terrible. You're telling me that group is chronically depressed? Well, it gets worse, ladies and gentlemen, because, it always does. According to articles from Politico and from a blog author on Medium, laughter and comedy are the new symbols of the far right. That's right. We've gone over about every kind of dog whistle that you can have. A couple of years ago, MSNBC reported that the far right's obsession with fitness and going to the gym, that's a real threat of white supremacy. And then, of course, we've had professors from White and from Harvard over the last couple of days saying that marriage and the nuclear family, those are deeply racist and lead to white supremacy. And look, we could dig into all of the psychology. We could dig into all of the data that shows that that's completely bogus. But instead, to the common Hoosier out there listening, it's very easy for the average individual to look at this stuff and say, that's just crap. It's crap. It isn't real. It isn't true that marriage leads to white supremacy. That's stupid. I have very few. Oh wait, there are exactly 0 cases of mixed couples divorcing because they said, well, since we got married, my spouse has grown increasingly white supremacist as a result of being married. That's not a thing. There is no one out there who has been turned on to fascism because of laughter. It's not. That's not a thing. And if you are so sad and bitter and depressed that you believe that anyone who works out or anyone who laughs or anyone who is married is part of some type of super evil construct of racism and bigotry and homophobia and transphobia and all the other phobias and problems, you need to go outside and touch grass. There was an interview that was released by Channel 4 in Canada with Elliot Page, the female actress who cut off her boobs and underwent a lot of really awful hormonal changes because now she says that she's a guy. Unfortunately, the interview in which she sat down and answered a bunch of questions was basically all about how ever since she's transgendered, ever since she's swapped her genders, she's been incredibly depressed. No wonder. I will remind y'all for the umpteenth time that we do not have a full understanding of how the endocrine system works. It is dangerous to mess around with hormones in general, much less to the degree of lopping off body parts and injecting random amounts of testosterone or estrogen in order to either generate or quash breasts and or genital growth. It ain't healthy. And if you believe that these things are healthy, either because of social peer pressure, and by the way, we'll be talking about that with an individual from the Daily Wire coming up soon. There's actually a long podcast exclusive where we break down a kind of the history of the Soviet Union and the modern progressive left and this kind of weird peer pressure dynamic that's been prevalent over the last century. In the meantime, though, if you are an individual who believes that all of these things that lead to 40% suicide rates, lifelong depression, extreme regret, and all these other problems, if you think that's the path forward to kids instead of fitness and laughter and marriage as adults, you really might want to take a second look at the value structure that you've based your life on. Because the Christian couples, and I don't mean the ex-evangelicals or the country club Christians who like go to church once every year and don't actually like follow anything from the Bible. They're just like Christians, like on the census form kind of Christians. I'm not talking about those, but like those who actually go to church. And by the way, also synagogues and a lot of Sunni mosques as well, who devote their life to their community and raise traditional families with traditional values and take the time to encourage children to embrace good quality traditional gender roles. Don't get involved in a lot of weird sexual crap. It turns out that those people are pretty happy. And I can walk into a lot of churches and find individuals who are supposed to be the very picture of evil, self-hating, bitterness, and white supremacy. And first of all, it's a far more diverse crowd than you're led to believe. And number two, it's full of individuals who are genuinely happy about living. And it doesn't even have to be something that's even centered around faith at the end of the day. People who just shut off all of the chaotic nonsense that says your kids need to be steeped in diversity, equity, and inclusion and LGBTQ pride events all over the who cares. Your kids can be raised off of the internet and can actually grow up happy and healthy. What a weird time to see people running to homeschool communities because those are the normal kids. I remember growing up actually experiencing culture shock in high school when I started hanging out with a homeschool family and the friends of that homeschool family and found out they were far more normal than I was. And many people, the public school that I went to were. And a lot of those individuals are happy and healthy today. In fact, I cannot list an individual in that situation which ended up going down weird, spiraling nonsense. I can list a lot of ex-evangelicals and a lot of individuals who were raised in a way that makes objective sense that ended up leaving that behind and kind of started flirting with a lot of this nonsense that, again, that fitness and laughter and marriage are evil. And a lot of them are extremely and severely depressed. And so the common Hoosier analysis here is scoreboard. Scoreboard. I'm going to point to the scoreboard. People who live in traditional values, morals, and roles are by rote much happier than those who have been affirmed out the wazoo, who claim to be transgender, self-hating because of whatever their color they are, systems of oppressed hierarchy nonsense. Scoreboard. It does not give you any kind of moral value or high ground to look at a child and tell them that the mental illness they're suffering from is actually good for them. No, maybe you need to look at their diet and their exercise and their sleep schedule and what they're looking at online. A good psychiatrist or therapist will start there when it comes to an issue that you are struggling with before pumping you full of meds and sending you home. And by the way, I'm an individual who does indeed take meds to regulate a mental condition. But that only is useful along with following traditional patterns, which make an individual much happier and healthier. Fresh air, fitness, moving towards decent social goals and community involvement are always going to be far healthier for you than leaning into whatever social craze is getting creepier by the day. Up next, Landon, the producer in the studio, and I are going to talk about a few things that we hate to shatter the glass for you for, but it's time to talk about idioms. It's time to talk about euphemisms, and no, I don't mean the dirty kind. Stick around. You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Everything is so expensive now. It makes it very hard for young people who don't want to be freeloaders, who want to be independent, who want to have their own existence, who want to do everything we say society should be wanting to do.
Mm-hmm. And especially in the past couple of years, how much rent has raised. The cost for everything. The energy bill is going to be higher. Food prices.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SAVE to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SAVE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SAVE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Technology Recyclers is Indiana's best choice for computer and electronics recycling. A Hoosier veteran-owned company, Technology Recyclers is R2, Rios, and NAID certified, 100% landfill-free, and always guaretees complete data destruction. And you can expect free business pickups anywhere in Indiana at tech-recyclers.com or call 1-800-237-3887. Technology Recyclers, the official sponsors of tomorrow. That's tech-recyclers.com for a stress-free experience in recycling.
Getting ready for prom? So exciting! Amaze your classmates with flowers from Gillespie Florists. For hopeless romantics, Gillespie has corsages, fashionista tiaras, and halos for amazing hair. Prom rebels can customize at Gillespie with wearable flowers for arm and shoes, or dress it up with a flower necklace or ring. Win bragging rights in Gillespie's social media prom contest. See all the prom choices online at GillespieFlorist.com or call 273-1100. Gillespie Florists at 10th and Raceway Road for all the flowers in your life.
More than 100 million wild animals are killed each year, illegally. Poaching is just one of the risks animals face at our hands. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor. I grew up in the beautiful rural countryside of Ohio, where animals roamed freely in the open forests. I have a deep concern to help preserve those open spaces for our wildlife friends so they can live and thrive like they used to. Destruction of their habitats threaten their very existence. The best way to protect wildlife is to protect the land where they live. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats, and establish permanent sanctuaries. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE. Or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Let Bill Estes put you behind the wheel of the powerhouse brands that define American toughness. Ford, Chevy, Ram, and GMC.
Get 1.9% APR on 2024 GMC Sierra 1500s plus $3,250 purchase allowance and no payment for 90 days when you trade in an eligible vehicle.
Unleash the power of the road with Bill Estes Trucks. Find the location near you and see their inventory at BillEstesTrucks.com.
Trade allowance only on 5.3-liter EcoTec 3 V8 engine. Financing for well-qualified buyers through GM Financial. Length of contract limited. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 4/1/24. See dealer for details.
When life happens, Michaelis happens to help you through it. That includes water, storms, fire, and the whole insurance mess. Working hand in hand with the claims adjuster, Michaelis is your advocate, your voice, your local trusted advisor for cleaning up, building back, and moving forward when disaster strikes. Now that is an insurance policy. Make it Michaelis. Call 844-FIX-INDY.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. That's 93.1 FM out of Indianapolis. That would be the live streams on youtube.com/WIBC and Twitter X for live stream video goodness, as well as the podcast. Well, everywhere else. Landon, we were talking a little bit before the show. That sometimes in life, I don't know, are there any phrases that you grew up thinking were one thing, and then when you got old enough, you found out they were like something completely different?
Just off the top of my head, I couldn't really think of any. I think if you just think of like weird phrases in general, I think we were kind of talking about this one, jack of all trades. Why does it have to be Jack?
Oh, like it's named after every individual person. It's like, man, he's a real Sam of all trades.
Yeah, he's a real Craig, you know what I mean?
So the actual phrase there is jack of all trades, master of none. And then there's actually that's meant to criticize people who, do a lot of different things. But the full phrase actually is still better than master of none. Still better than master of one, meaning it's better to, kind of diversify rather than just focus on one thing. When I was a kid, the thing that I was confused on is the peanut gallery. You'd hear a teacher say, that's enough from the peanut gallery. And I always thought that they were talking about like the Peanuts, like Charlie Brown and the gang.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so like, is like Lucy always known for commenting on everything? So that's why, no, the peanut gallery is like the cheap seats. And the cheap seats, because they didn't pay a whole lot, they would heckle in theater. And there was a time in like American theater, actually around the time that Abe Lincoln got shot, funnily enough, in which like they would say like, that's enough from the peanut gallery. So my favorite though, and you're going to like this one, is a clip. Did you ever watch Friends?
Bits and pieces of it.
So this is my personal favorite.
All right, okay. Paige, the big question is, does he like you? Right? Because if he doesn't like you, this is all a moot point.
Huh. A moo point?
Yeah. It's like a cow's opinion. It just doesn't matter. It's moo.
The old not getting it. It's a moo point. It's moo. So here's another one that I didn't understand as a kid. Wrapping, like, she's wrapped around his finger, or vice versa. And I used to like picture like maybe they're just holding hands weird, and it's like she's holding his hand in a way that he has to go where she wants to go. No, that's actually a term from falconry, in which you would take the little rope like a little leather strap on the harness of the falcon, and you would wrap it around your finger to kind of hold it in place. And we're not even going to get into this one. We don't have enough time for this segment. But like a lot of our popular phrase. I knew that there were just some sports that get overrepresented, but like falconry though, it's just wild. Have you heard some of these?
I have not heard the falconry one. I've heard wrapped around your finger, but I didn't know it was in the context of like kind of like dealing with that. I had no clue about that.
So fed up, hoodwinked, chaperone, the term booze, codger, haggard, and gorge are all from falconry. That's just. I want to know like who in the marketing business like did falconry on the side and is like, we're just going to insert all the phrases I made up into the dictionary. Like I'm confused.
That's wild. I didn't even think about that.
Because it's not like if it like falconry was like, oh, George Washington and all the founding fathers practiced falconry. Like, okay, yeah. I'd get it. Yeah, okay, popular phrases. But like it's never been a fad in the country. I don't know. Maybe there are a couple of other phrases that have been extended or maybe cut short, and so the meaning has changed. This is the one usually a lot of millennials and Gen Z knows. You've heard the phrase "blood is thicker than water."
Yes, I have heard that one.
Yeah. And the meaning is that family is more important than anything else. You know, your blood. Well, actually, the full phrase is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, meaning the blood born in battle between dudes, like a blood oath, is more valuable than just being related to somebody. I like that one.
I do too. I never knew that.
So this one's called, curiosity killed the cat, meaning like, hey, don't be too curious or it'll kill the cat or whatever.
Yeah.
There's another half to it. But satisfaction brought it back, meaning satisfying curiosity is so good that it almost brings you back from the dead, which is a very weird phrase. That's from the 1890s. This is the last one we'll end on. And this one, I think, this isn't how the phrase has always been, but this is a popular edition where I think that kids need to be taught this one. So you've heard the early bird
gets the worm.
Right. The early bird gets the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese.
See, I haven't heard the second half of that. That's kind of crazy to think
about.
Well,
that one's kind of a popular edition, more modern. I guess the second mouse gets the cheese started coming around the 70s, which I do love, though. You know, you've got look, it's important to be early. I hear you. But and I think of this in journalism, though, quite honestly, quite a bit. There's a story and it breaks and it's easy to just throw it up right away. Or you can wait a second, and if someone else runs in and says something stupid, like like a reporter from the Indianapolis Star, for instance, then I can swoop in and get the cheese. And, when it comes to colloquial phrases, they're just so much stinking fun. You know,
I can agree with you on that. And I think another one I kind of forgot about too was like if you're going on and you're performing something and everyone says break a leg. I never understood why everyone said break a leg.
You know, I the only one I know is regarding theater is limelight, and that's because they would burn lime back when they didn't have electricity to act as a spotlight. So I'm not sure about breaking a leg. Maybe we'll have to dig into that next time. Thanks for tuning in this evening. Podcast will be up soon. This has been the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
When do you plan to file for Social Security? Be careful.